Welcome back to my adventure. Today I would like to show you how you can transpose data. It's basically flipping columns to rows and how you can do it in Python. Data transposition, as I have mentioned, it is basically flipping rows to columns or columns to rows. As you would do it in Excel with the command of data transposition like transpose, I will show you in a minute. And this is very important sometimes when you work with large data sets. For example, from my experience, I was working data set which was a table weight of 5 gigabytes. Excel was just unable to open it. Therefore, the only option I had is to do it via the program languages like Python to rearrange and analyze it. Also, it gives you a different data perspective. Sometimes with small data sets, you can look at the data different angle to understand it better. And obviously, different statistical analysis requires your data formatting in a specific way. And sometimes you would need to change columns to rows or rows to columns for it to be processed. So before I will show you how to do it in Python, let's quickly recap how to do it in Excel. So let's open the table. I have prepared a table for you where you can quickly catch the mechanics of transposition in the script and the idea of transposition. Here is my table. In columns, you can have different IDs. It could be RNA data or patient data. And in rows is the replicates or the conditions. So this is our format. And if you would like to transpose this table in Excel, you would select it, you will copy it, and then you will find a space where you would like to paste it. And then you will select a cell and right click on it so you can find this command that was seen in a PowerPoint presentation. And it goes transpose. You press it and voila, the rows has changed into columns, as you can see here. And this was easy because the file was very small compared to those that you would probably maybe will come across. And for the same reason, we would need to use Python to do this. So let's go to our presentation. For this tutorial, you can use Anaconda to use Spider with Python, and we would need to use one necessary package called pandas to read our tables. And for this tutorial, as I have mentioned, we can use my example data, which is called table row. You also can find it together with the script itself, so you don't need to type it into my GitHub. Let's jump into Python. In the Spider, I personally am not a big fan of typing the things because you can make mistakes there. Therefore, I pre-prepared the code for you, but I will go with you to explain every single command that is made there and the reason why it's made. The first, we need to import our packages. So let's import pandas. Our package is a panda and it will be read in the text as PD. We need then print pandas to see in our console the name of pandas, which I prefer to do it to visualize it. And also a very important step that I recommend everyone to do is to see the version of our package. Because sometimes you can work with the package not realizing that your package was already out of dated. And when you start a new project and copying or developing a new script, and it doesn't work. It's because not the script error, but the package was out of dated and they could replace some commands or some languages inside it. So let's run it. F9, F9, F9. As you can see in my console, the version of the panda here is 143, which is great. Let's forget about it. And for my own comfort, I use OS package to navigate in the directory and the name of the files. It's not necessary, but I also recommend you to do it because it's a comfort for me and hopefully more comfort for you. To start with, we need to show where the folder is, so we can identify the folder path. In my case, the file that I was gonna use located on my desktop. It can be anywhere where you need to define the pathway. Do remember to use R at the beginning. When we define the pathway, we need to define the name of the files we want to use. And here the file name, as I have mentioned, is the table row. But to use it, we also need to define its format. The format of the file is CSV, a very common format for data analysis. So now, it's three components that are separated and we need to join them together. And we will call it as a raw data. The raw data is the location where the data is the full location. And to be proved that it's a full location, as you can see, I use OS command, path, and join. So I join all this into one path. And to be proved this, I can just print this raw data to see whether everything worked the way I wanted to. So we can print file path, which will be displayed on the console, and raw data, which is our file path. Let's run. Yeah, I also need to run the code. So we have added them into the system, as you can see, and now we can run the path. And checking it, here it is. And as you can see, everything was joined the way it should be, which is great. So now let's go and read our table. To read our table, we need to use pandas. The pandas to read CSV. This is the command which allows us to read it. And this is the pathway that we have just created. And low memory. I like to use this command because when you actually need a transposition in Python, it means that your data is very big. And to read the very big data, you need a lot of memory. With a low memory for the Python, it will read it very slowly. So you can allow it to use more memory to read it, obviously if you have more RAM memory. So I allow it, so I'm saying false, so there's I have no low memory. And I would like to set up index to my first column, which is 0. If you don't want to have an index, you can press false there, so it will create a separate index, not using your columns. For our example, I can use the first column. So we press to run it, and here it is. You can see that it's appeared in our list, and we can actually look at it. Here it is, exactly as we saw in Excel. We can read, and we can see that index is selected as the first column. So finally, we also can have a step to double check that we are on the right path, and we can print the first 3 columns and rows of the data. Press F9 and you can see that really the 3 rows and the data is the thing we work with. Correct and nice. So let's produce our transpose data. To transpose data, we need to use a command transpose and the data on which we need to transpose it. We will call it a result. As you can see, a result, the data that we have loaded in, and the command that will transpose our data, our table. We run it, and as you can see, we appeared a new format here, a results. If you open the results, and exactly, the rows become the columns, so it's flipped it. It was transposed. It's exactly what we wanted. So let's just save it. To save it, I personally like to use the same name of the original file, but with the name of the function I have performed on it, or the analysis. In this case, it's a transposition. But first, let's define in which format it would need to be saved with. And the format will be the same as CSV. The new additive name to our original name we also need to define, and as I have said this will be the transposition or transpose. Let's use transpose. It's the new file name. So we need also to combine it again to the new file directory and with new file name, but I want to use the old file directory with the new file name with this additive. So what we can use, something, let's call it table to save. and we will join. So you can see we use the same function here as we did at the beginning, over here. We will use a folder path, which is over here. So we saving in the same directory. We will add the file name and the new file name and the format together to form a new directory where we want to save the file. So let's run all of it. And let's produce our new directory. Ta-da! The new directory is made. So again, to test it, we need to print it to see whether it's worked correctly. Just in case, I like to do it. And we can see that it's indeed worked. So let's just quickly save it. And we want to save it to CSV. And CSV file is a pandas command. And in brackets, the directory where we want to save, together with the name. We press it, and it was proceeded. So let's look on our result. As you can see, this is our initial name of the file, and this is our new file, which has the name of Transpose. We're opening it, and what we should see is the data being transposed. And as you can see, the data was transposed. We can see that columns are flipped into rows. And if we look at the original document, this was original document, and here is the transposed document. Thank you for watching, that's it for me. Press the like button, subscribe, share with your friends who had the same problem or could have the same problem, and see you next time.